Okay, then good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Welcome everyone to the webinar on citizen engagement tools for nature-based solution. My name is Felix. I will moderate the session today. I work for the European City Network Climate Alliance. Climate Alliance is part of the Interlace project, which is organizing this webinar today. Before we start, I will quickly give you some technical information. The session will be recorded. If you do not agree to be recorded, please turn off your camera. Please keep your mic off during the presentations. You can raise your hand or use the chat to pose questions for the speakers. There will be simultaneous translation, English-Spanish, available. You can find the translation in the bottom bar. There's an icon. The event will last 1.5 hours. And if you need a certificate that you joined this meeting, write to this email address, which is displayed in the PowerPoint presentation. And then I would like to ask you, Juan Carlos, to just translate that there will be translation available in case somebody didn't find it.
Sure, thank you, Felix. Welcome, everyone. Just a quick comment to say there is interpretation available from English into Spanish or vice versa using the little globe icon at the bottom where you can choose the channel you want to hear. Go ahead, Felix. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As I said before, this webinar is part of the Interlace project, which I will briefly introduce before we start with today's topic. The Interlace project aims to equip European and Latin American cities to effectively restore their ecosystems, to make cities more resilient and inclusive. Interlace objectives include to foster participatory restoration of urban ecosystems, to build on existing experiences and good practices in cities, and to increase capacities for integrated and coherent nature-based solution planning. Interlace is producing different outputs. For example, an integrated assessment framework to support the planning and implementation of nature-based solutions, an urban governance atlas, which is an interactive database of over 250 policy instruments for nature-based solutions, as well as a citizen engagement program, which we will more focus on today. There are much more outputs of Interlace and much more about Interlace, but I want to keep it short for this moment. But if you want to find out more on the Interlace project, please visit our Interlace Hub website. You can find the link here. The Interlace project also built up the Cities Talk Nature community. The Cities Talk Nature community is a community of practice that is aiming to foster exchange, especially between cities all over the world, but especially between Europe and Latin America. Activities include webinars, as we have one today, but also in-person events showcasing of best practices and an engagement letter, which can be signed by municipalities. More than 40 cities are part of Cities Talk Nature at the moment, and we are becoming more and more from time to time. To conclude the brief introduction of Interlace, I will show you our project video, and then we start with our webinar topic today.
Interlace es un proyecto de cooperación internacional que tiene como objetivo restaurar y conectar entornos urbanos en ciudades de América Latina y Europa. Forma parte del programa de investigación e innovación Horizonte 2020 de la Unión Europea. El consorcio Interlace está integrado por 21 organizaciones de 11 países, en los que se destacan 6 ciudades: Envigado, Granollers, Cracovia, Chemnitz, Portoviejo y Cebeima, centros de investigación, redes de ciudades y comunicación.
Como redes de ciudades, la Federación Latinoamericana de Municipios FLACMA y la Unión Nacional de Gobiernos Locales aportamos nuestra conexión y relación con los gobiernos locales de la región para que el aprendizaje y el desarrollo de herramientas que se genera desde Interlace lleguen a la mayor cantidad de municipios, facilitando y fomentando el intercambio de conocimientos y experiencias por medio de la comunidad de práctica, Ciudades por la Naturaleza, la cual lideramos en coordinación con nuestros aliados Climate Alliance y Ciudades de Gobiernos Locales Unidos, CGLU, a través de la organización de estos eventos virtuales y presenciales de diversas índoles.
Okay, we will now come to our topic of today's webinar. We will take a closer look today at what tools are available for city planners and local administrations to foster citizen engagement and to include the ideas and needs of citizens in the planning and implementation of nature-based solutions. For this, we invited 4 speakers whom I would like to, with that, warmly welcome. Thank you very much for being with us. We have Paul from Oppla and Johanna from the City of Envigado, which will present how the computer game Minecraft can be utilized to engage especially young people in co-designing nature-based solutions. Then we have Karin from the city of Portoviejo, which she will share experiences from a participatory process in the context of developing a park in the city. And then we have Nicolas from Yes Innovation. He will showcase the Unlimited Cities DIY application, which allows citizens to, for example, share ideas for public spaces of a certain neighborhood. With that said, let's get started with Paul. Paul from Oppla. Thank you very much for being here. Oppla is a European knowledge and networking platform on nature-based solutions based in the UK and the Netherlands, and Oppla is also part of the Interlace project team. Oppla is leading the citizen engagement program within Interlace and has a special focus on using Minecraft. So Paul, the floor is yours. Thank you very much for introducing us.
Thanks,
Minecraft.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here and see some familiar faces. If I can just share screen, I'll...
Yes.
No problem, thanks. So I've got a strict 10 minutes. I'm going to start a stopwatch because if you know me, you know I can talk for a long time. So yeah, it's really nice to be here and to talk about Minecraft, which is something that's very dear to me. And just to say that, you know, when we work with video games in this space, we sometimes think that video games are kind of the opposite of education, and that children should be playing less video games and doing more schoolwork. We kind of wanted to dispel that myth a little bit with the Minecraft work we did through Interlace and try and show that video games can actually be a really good tool for engaging young people and older people actually in how we design and think about nature-based solutions. So in the very early days of the project, Interlace had a focus on reaching out to young people, and we wanted to try and do this in some non-traditional ways. We wanted to sort of think creatively about how we can bring people into a very, you know, technical project like this and make them participants and not just sort of recipients of knowledge. How can we bring young people to the table with us and work with them to co-design nature-based solutions. So they're not just learning from us, how can we learn from them? And we also wanted to tap into young people's creativity and imagination. They see the world slightly differently to us. For them, what are possibilities are different to how we see possibilities. And we wanted to use that creativity as an asset. And importantly, we wanted to do this in a way that was easier and familiar for young people. We didn't want to bring them into our space and kind of talk to them using our terms in our environment. We wanted to go and meet them in their environment, in a place that they're familiar with, so that they can feel comfortable and empowered, and use a process that they're already, very familiar with. And this is where the idea from Minecraft came from. And we really wanted to make it fun, because when we tend to engage young people, what our idea of fun is as adults is quite different to how young people perceive fun. So, we wanted to make it genuinely fun, and not just sort of fun in the context of us being like teachers. So the reason we use Minecraft is, if you're not familiar with it, it's a very creative virtual world where you can build and shape and recreate environments using building blocks. There's a game there as well. It's not just about building things. It kind of operates like a video game, but it provides this really great 3D palette of tools that you can use to build and design environments. And it's the world's best-selling video game. It has a huge number of users. It's a bit like online Lego. If you're familiar with Lego, you build and shape and recreate worlds using blocks. Those blocks have a scale. They're about 1 meter squared. And it allows us to sort of reimagine and reshape real-world places. These are some of the building blocks you have. You have lots of different ingredients, lots of different plants and animals you can use in Minecraft. So there's a really rich palette of tools that you can use. And, kids play this game and they'll build virtual worlds and they'll explore virtual worlds. And they do this for fun, just like you would play with Lego outside of a computer. So UN Habitat did some work a number of years ago using Minecraft for this purpose. And we looked at the work that UN Habitat did. That program had ended, but we thought that was a really good starting point for Interlace. How can we build on this idea that UN Habitat had to use a game like Minecraft to bring people together to rethink and reshape environments with nature-based solutions? And Minecraft players, what we found through the project is that all of the children we've worked with are very familiar with Minecraft. It's a very well-played game. It has a reasonably good gender balance for a game. It's 60% boys, 40% girls. That's quite a high percentage of girls for video games. So we thought that was definitely a strong point. It's something that adults are familiar with, and particularly when you see that the average player age is 24 years. This isn't just for very young kids. There are lots of teenagers and adults playing Minecraft as well. And what we wanted to do with Interlace is, normally in Minecraft, you're using a fantasy environment. It's a fantasy world. It operates a bit like the real world. There's gravity, there are trees, and there's water, and there are plants and animals, but it's not a real place. But what we want to do with Interlace is we wanted to find a way of creating real world places so that you can go and visit a place you're familiar with in the real world, and you can reshape it and redesign it in Minecraft. We worked with a company in Denmark called GeoBoxers, and they came up with a very interesting piece of software that converts OpenStreetMap data, which is like Google Maps data, and it combines it with NASA's topography dataset, the SRTM dataset, and it allows us to build and automatically generate 3D replicas of real-world places. And they're not super detailed, but they're detailed enough. This is an example from Manchester, where I live. They're detailed enough to recognize the streets and the building shapes, and to have a kind of a semi-familiar environment that you're working in. And that proved really important, because in each of the cities, what we did is we did a field trip with the school children. We took them out to visit a real place in their environment, and then we went to that same place in Minecraft, and then they redesigned that space using the tools in Minecraft. So for each of the participating cities, we have a data set that looks like this, that is a section of the city, or in some cases, it's multiple sections of those cities that we've been using for the project. So just to give you an example, this is a section of Manchester. This is actually my office here, this old Victorian building. And this has now since been redeveloped. But when we started the project, this was a derelict car park area. And these were some ideas that we had and with some of our neighbours in our building about how we could turn this into a little local pocket park. And again, you can see this is an old cafe that's since been knocked down. And there were ideas to turn this into a little pocket park here. So this just gives you an idea of how you can use Minecraft to sort of compare between, you can go to a real world environment and you can redesign that environment in Minecraft. And that can be then used as a tool to engage with planners and developers. And it's a discussion tool. You can create, you can imagine a place, and then that provides a great starting point for discussion. And this is what the UN did through their block by block program. They did a lot of work in Kosovo. They've done a lot of work in Africa. This is a schoolyard in Africa that was redeveloped through the UN Habitat block by block project. And this is what we've been doing through Interlace. I'm just going to give you a few slides from Envigado. This was the first city that we worked with. So this is where we really learned the process ourselves. And this is a famous church in the heart of Envigado. We recreated that in Minecraft. So we put some familiar landmarks into the environment. And there's Johanna there actually, who's speaking next. But we did a series of really great workshops with schools. There's a funny story behind this workshop where they thought that we were the inventors of Minecraft. The kids got super excited about that. But we found that the children absolutely loved it. I mean, if you go into a school and say to the kids, you know, you're going to be doing Minecraft this afternoon, you know, for them, that's just fantastic. And the kids have super confidence with this because they know Minecraft. Some of them feel like they're really experts in Minecraft and they want to show you that expertise. They're starting from a position of confidence. They're not having to learn something or learn the tools. They really understand the tools. So you just have to teach them how to apply those tools in the context of nature-based solutions. And yeah, I mean, we found this really successful. I was really actually surprised at the quality of the ideas the children had, perhaps wrongly, perhaps I shouldn't have been surprised by that. This was like an eco house built by a team of 3 girls, and they hadn't actually used Minecraft before. This was their first time using it. And you've got a green, they're growing things on the roof, the sides of the building are open to allow air ventilation. They've got something going on here with fish in some sort of greenhouse fish tank. They've got all these great ideas. Yeah, we've got lots of photos like this. You can just tell from their faces that they were having a good time when they did this. But we've collected some really good and some genuinely good ideas for nature-based solutions. I think it was in Graniers or perhaps Krakow where children had idea to have big fans in the parks to keep the old people cool. And, you know, there were some quite crazy ideas as well. But it worked really well. We've developed a lot of training resources and some introductory resources for schools so they can get started with this program. We're working with the team in Krakow at the moment who have already installed Minecraft Education Edition. They're rolling this out. The team in Envigado are interested in doing that. I think 3 or 4 of the schools are going to continue the program beyond the project. And what we've really tried to do here is sort of go beyond education to application. So we're not just educating those children about nature-based solutions. They've come away with an understanding of the problems that we can use nature-based solutions to solve. And they've had a go at designing those solutions themselves. In Envigado, we did a workshop with adults and we had the head of planning, the municipality's head of planning there. And he was really impressed with this. I had a good conversation with him. Actually, the next day we met him in a shopping mall and I had a conversation with him and he could see real applications for how we could use this going forward. So for us, it was a really good learning process. We're scaling this out now through the Network Nature project, and we're also supporting some of the city partners in Interlace to scale this up and keep doing this into the future. And yeah, we're always happy to support other projects that might want to do the same or learn from us. We've learned a lot in doing this, and we'll be sharing some of our reporting through Interlace, but I'm also happy to answer any questions now, or you can contact me. My contact details are there. You can even contact me on Minecraft. My username is wavingmarmot366, and yeah, that's a marmot. And I think that's me done. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much, Paul, for your insights. We have a couple of minutes for questions. So if you have any questions, please raise your hand or put your question in the chat. Unfortunately, Paul won't be available later on today, so if you have a question, ask it now.
Just whilst we wait for questions, because you know me, I rarely shut up. That one of the things we've learned is this actually a lot easier than we thought going into it. We learned a lot in applying Minecraft, but it's not as technical as you might think. There's a bit of a steep learning curve at the start, but I know Lisia's here and the team from Ecuador, and they ran a Minecraft session all by themselves without us being there in person to help. And I thought that was really impressive that they did that themselves. So you don't have to be an expert to do this. It's quite an accessible process. Yeah. And yeah, I'll happily put my contact in the chat, no problem.
Okay, great. Then thanks again, Paul.
Very welcome. Yeah.
Then we move to the second presentation. I'm very pleased to welcome our next speaker, Johanna from the City of Envigado. She's part of the Secretariat of Environment of the city, and Envigado is one of the 6 cities that are part of the Interlace project. And yes, as already mentioned, they carried out Minecraft activities together with Oppla, which we will hear now. Thank you very much, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I couldn't have a better introduction than Paul's talk, who introduced us to this marvelous game that the city of Envigado enjoyed very much. So Envigado has actively participated in the Interlace project, and I believe that as a city, we have really made the most of everything we've done. Given that we don't have everyone from Interlace here, I wanted to tell you about the project and what Envigado is doing with nature-based solutions. Why do I want to tell you about this? Well, because in Minecraft, we'll be able to see the same nature-based solutions, which I'm going to show you, and I'm going to show you how they can be taken to the game. We have certain protected areas called the SILAPE, the local system of protected areas of Envigado. 40% of it is made up of protected areas. We have the hydric, or the water corridor in Ayura, which is an urban crook or river that goes through schools and main avenues. We also have a renaturalization process, which is a participatory process with citizens and people from Envigado. And together we will make the city of Envigado greener. We have protected areas such as the marshes and also an ecological park that I'll tell you about. So I'll tell you why I mention all this later, but Paul has given us a very good introduction to the game Minecraft. In Envigado, given that we were the first city that implemented it, how can we make nature-based solutions actually reach educational institutions? What kind of challenge are we going to face? Because although it's quite technical, children do understand it, and they understand that nature provides solutions through its ecosystems to the problems that we have. And the idea of these workshops is for children to perform virtual visits on Minecraft. And as you can see in the pictures, present a project towards the end. So I'm going to tell you more about that in a second and emphasize them a bit better, but it's a wonderful project, one of the many projects we have implemented with Interlace, where Oppla creates a replica of the municipality of Envigado. It's 3 square kilometers, and we gave vital importance to educational institutions, to protected areas, to a certain part of the SILAPE system, but above all, it had a really important emphasis on the brook or the river of Ayura, which we can see on the map. We can see the area in the picture here. And they accompany us so we can perform recon in the area and then map it. That includes buildings, roads, and rivers. This is the municipality in real life, and this is the map that Oppla has presented to us. and we took to the educational institution. So we had the River of Medellin, which is where the Ayura Brook has its where it decanters into, and then we had the main avenues as well. And in addition to all the work we did in the municipality of Envigado, Oppla created this logo, which we used during the week. It's a wonderful logo of the main church of the municipality of Envigado, which really marks the center of the municipality. And so you know you're in Envigado when you stand at this municipal park. So who were these workshops for? The rangers of the Ayura, which is one of the projects that we have within Interlace as well. And they're 5th grade children who have workshops with education on water sources, water resources, especially related to the Ayura. And there are about 15 to 20 children attending. First, we did reconnaissance in the area. So we went to the place where we were going to implement the nature-based solution. In this case, we're with an educational institution. We visited the church. We did a tour around the park, and then they would go back to their school and propose solutions to the problems that they had seen in that park. The children really surprised us, as Paul said. They really surprised us. It really surprised us to see how they went from seeing something, because sometimes we think that adults, you know, because we have technical education, we read the environment, we would know better. But it's really interesting because we discovered something through this game at every school that they could do. So kids would work together, they would plant trees, they would have areas of fauna or fauna paths, and everything that we did as the Environment Secretariat, the kids were able to replicate that in their games. So this is kind of to show you what you can learn in this game. So here you can see the River of Ayura. This is the map created by Oppla, and we are planting trees here around the river, and this is how we can teach children nature-based solutions via Minecraft. So we've got a river here that has been renaturalized by them, and we also have a space for fauna. This is one of the flagship projects. We are pioneers at the national level, and we have the most fauna paths in Colombia because we also have a high level of car accidents with animals in our area. So this is how we can create paths or corridors for fauna. Obviously it's a bit quick here, but this is more or less how we can take these fauna paths to the game. Another main strategy in the municipality is Envigado Florece, the project, which is land restoration. And this means going from hard floor to soft floor or green floor. So this means we go from asphalt to, or from pavement to a functional garden. And so I want you to watch this video because this is currently being implemented in the main park, the main square. And so we are addressing this problem where you have high temperatures, and so we're creating functional gardens. We don't just remove asphalt, but we also bring in green areas, and we plant some plants, we add flowers and food for pollinizing insects, and then you can see the bees coming in. So this is all done through Minecraft. So we had a marvelous result with Oppla and the Humboldt Institute. More than 150 children participated that week in the pilot project in the municipality of Envigado. as I said, they were 5th grade students between the ages of 10 and 11. It's a marvelous planning tool, as Paul was telling us earlier. And at the end, I'm going to tell you what the planning officer told us after the children performed this project, and there was a marvelous welcome, and they were really kind of happily hosted. In this process, they all created the fauna inside. I won't say all of them, most of them created wild fauna areas that were enclosed. So we started to think about Minecraft, not just telling us about nature-based solutions, but showing us what children are thinking, or what they reflect, and what that can tell us. So all the animals that the children put in were in cages. They couldn't conceive of protected areas like the ones we were thinking about. There were more than 100 children there. It was a big marathon because we were celebrating Water Day, and they all went through the station. They all created nature-based solutions focused on water management. Some of them created volcanoes. We don't have any volcanoes in Envigado. But it's a challenge because for us as the Secretariat, we really need to help children to understand the area, because if they put a volcano in, it means they don't really know what's there. And in this scenario, we had rock stars who were the Oppla team, because that's how they treated them. They thought that they were the inventors of Minecraft. But anyway, we had a workshop with teachers because we were asking them what they thought about this tool for learning at school. It was a really important process with all the teachers in our public institutions. So this took place at the schools, and then in November we had our international summit in the municipality of Envigado, and we had a workshop on nature-based solutions and the Minecraft game. So the same thing we're doing today, but we were working with people from around the world, and we had the same workshop with my 2 children who were introducing the game to the adults, and we did really beautiful work because we had to propose the solution based on the place we live, so, and the place where we were in that moment. So this space, as you can see on in the picture, I'm explaining things to the officers, and we've got a really big green area there, and it's perfect for new ideas. So these adults sat down with the Oppla team, with my children as well, and together we found something really important. So it's a library, but there's no space to sit down and read. So the person who accompanied us from planning said that it's really cool to have this space and to start building the city, listening to others, and also playing a really fun game. And we identified the problems in the city that we need to start to address. So, you know, there's a library here filled with books, but the surrounding areas were very warm and there were no spaces for reading. So this truly provided really good work, and you know, we get feedback as municipality because we can hear the voices of the children, of the experts, of the adults as well. And so I feel it's a marvelous tool that you can use to choose to teach nature-based solutions and to listen without having a biased perspective as a municipality. So thank you very much. I'll also leave my contact details here. Our doors are always open at the municipality of Envigado to accompany you and to exhibit these successful processes that we've had with the Interlace project. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for sharing your experiences on the implementation of Minecraft. Very, very interesting insights. I would like to ask all of you again to raise questions. Can do this by writing your question in the chat or by open your mic. Are there any questions regarding Minecraft, especially in Envigado? Maybe in the meantime, we wait for questions. I will ask one question to you. as you and already Paul said, you can see it in the faces of the kids. They are very happy and seem to enjoy it. I wanted to ask if you also made the experience of frustration if maybe not all ideas were considered for actually implementation, or if that does not play a role.
So for some of the workshops, we felt that, when they go to the territory and then have to go back to the classroom to perform the project, we think you need at least 3 or 4 hours. When I said we had a day of marathon, it was basically a marathon with 100 children who were going through the station one by one, they were there for an hour, but that's kind of impossible. If you truly want kids to have a new way of thinking and you want real feedback, you need at least 3 hours for the workshop. So we didn't really take that into account there, and we don't think the process was complete in that sense. But in the other two schools where we're there for the whole day, we saw that they were definitely more successful projects. So I feel like time is important, and it's a session that requires a lot of time so that you can go through the whole process, so observing, thinking, developing, and presenting the project to others.
Thank you. We have a question in the chat about the challenges. The question reads, which are the challenges you face from practicing Minecraft and then act in real life practices or actions?
Okay, in the municipality of Envigado, in the first workshop that we performed, as I said, it was part of the Interlace project, and children were creating marvelous proposals. That's how far we got. It would be great to implement these. As I said in the final part, we have a park, the Deborah Arango Park, and we would love to make one of those ideas by the children a reality. Because Oppla analysed the library, the space, the exact area, they mapped that so children could truly do that. But in Envigado, we haven't implemented any of them. We're still performing developments. We had a change in the governor, and we're presenting the project to make it a reality so that children don't just propose, but at least one of the ideas, so the winning idea of all, can be taken to the mayor so we can develop it in the municipality of Envigado. But for the moment, we've just had workshops. We haven't actually made them a reality yet.
Thank you. There will be time for one more question. Is there any more questions from the audience? If not, then thank you again very much. Also feel free to leave your contact in the chat. And then thanks again for presenting. With that, we will move on to our third speaker. Okay, there is one more question, so maybe we can have that before we move on. The question is, what was the most creative idea you heard from the children?
Okay, I don't know if Paul is there, but maybe he could show us the house, the eco house. So the child contemplated that this house would have a roof garden, sorry, and she told us that her mother had a little garden, and so she put a garden at the top of the house, and then so it's obviously a game and they're children, so they have a lot of imagination, but water would rotate around the house, so it refreshed the house and it wasn't as warm inside anymore. And then on one side of the house there was like a waterfall, and that water would rotate around the house. And then the animals, so they'd put in little bumblebees and birds, because she said that the garden on the top of the home would make lots of animals come to the house. And so they created very see-through houses with glass windows. They weren't as enclosed or closed. We have a lot of walls here in construction in Colombia, so they always created open spaces, these kind of open scenarios that connected with nature. So that was something for us that we liked. And as Paul said, they'd never used Minecraft, so it was even more of an impact, because even though they hadn't used it before, they made this house an eco house. So I feel that that was one of the most impacting presentations from the children.
Great, thanks for sharing. Then we now move on to our next speaker. I would like to welcome Ligia Vera from the city of Portoviejo. The city is also part of the Interlace project and has also carried out Minecraft activities, but this will not be the focus today. We will hear about a different project, namely a citizen participation process, which was used to develop a park in the city. So thank you very much for being here, and the floor is yours.
Okay, good morning. I am from the municipality of Portoviejo, and we've been participating in the Interlace project, in which we have created a number of processes and created a few documents. For us in the municipality, citizen participation is very important. It fosters the empowerment of citizens and in each of these sectors that we address. So in this participatory process, we created elements of governance that has been very fruitful, such as the manual for urban tree planting and the guide for the design of green spaces. And we've been doing this with the community. We've gone to certain places where we have taken this information, and as we said before, we've had lots of workshops with the community, such as a Minecraft workshop aimed at children and young people. We also had the workshop painting footprints through sports schools with children, and one of the processes that we're currently developing is the participatory process in the park El Mamey. And so the aim is to have citizen participation governance instruments, and for this we created the technical manual for urban tree planting. And this, so around 108 people have been reached through around 5 workshops. We've had in-person workshops, virtual workshops, and we have addressed certain sectors such as groups of professionals, people who buy and sell certain species of trees, and with students. So this is a technical catalogue of types of trees, and we want to also see how we can implement this. This helps us not just at the professional level, but also in the learning process, and it helps us to identify what kind of trees we can identify for the area, and we create awareness in these workshops to make sure that students and all the people who receive these workshops don't see a tree as a simple element, but so that they can understand what they contribute and the importance of biodiversity. Likewise, in this process, we have created a design for or an area for the design of spaces in person and virtually, and around 20 people have participated from directorates in the municipality, internal and external technicians and professionals. This year, we created design criteria provided by the ecosystem, and its services, and also nature-based solutions. Participatory construction has led to a document that has been enriched by different perspectives and contribute to urban planning for our city. The process we're currently in now is being led in the Mamey Park. It's an emblematic place in our city. It's close to the urban centre. Understanding that the population in Portoviejo is around 300,000 inhabitants, and it's on the coast of Ecuador. It's so the Portoviejo River runs through it. The river is kind of a division between two parts of the city, and action has been implemented to save and protect water resources. And so we've implemented an area for green spaces that's been planned and has different parks in it. The Mamey Park, so 7 parks in total, and the Mamey Park is one of them. We're currently performing a participatory process with the community. One of the main benefits is that the Mamey Park really empowers, or the people in the area are really empowered. So they really love this park. They always participate in workshops, and they participate a lot generally, and they also help to preserve this park. It's part of the 7 parks of the area in Portoviejo, and it's approximately 41.5 kilometers in total between all parks. The participatory design has been performed through different actors, so that includes the municipal area, or the municipality who we've worked with. We've worked with neighbours as well. They've made great contributions. We've listened to their problems, and we've co-created a participation process with them. And we have also collaborated with academia. Academia has helped us lift diagnosis information. And we recently lifted information about different equipment in the park. We did this with the help of Yes Innovation from the Interlace project. It's one of the partners there, and with the active participation of the municipality. We've had 2 workshops as well, where we've identified approximately 35 people. We've had group exercises, also oral communication and field visits. So we have identified each of the areas with the community surrounding the park. Through the workshops, we have identified and understood the collective problems of the area, so of the neighbours in the area, and we've proposed a participatory design for the restoration of the area so that we can bring together all these different connections with surrounding urban areas and the use of nature-based solutions as recovery techniques. Within this process, we have identified that 67% of people who have accompanied us are generally men, and 33% are women. Given that it's a very old park in the city, it has a lot of historical connotations. So it's very important, especially for older people, because in the past, there was a river going through that they used to transport merchandise from other sectors of the city. Therefore, it's an important park for older people, especially who have these cultural memories. Therefore, most of the people who have accompanied us are between the ages of 45 and 60. Through these workshops, we've identified that one of the most significant concerns of the community is the level of insecurity, or the lack of safety in the park. And in the community, we identified that there's a lot of biodiversity in terms of animals and trees, and there are many species of trees in these areas. And in the past, a very empowered architect in the area who was quite senior, he had certain blueprints of the park that included nature-based solutions already. So with our process that we are creating in the municipality of Portoviejo alongside citizens and their own project, we're trying to really make the most of this and bring it together so it can be a single participatory design process. The community is interested in implementing the MBSs. This improves the quality of the public space. And the Mamey Park, with the support of academia, has helped a diagnosis to be lifted in the municipality, which is really stands out from what we can see here. It's like a green lung in the city, and just as the 7 parks are, we've identified that there are 700 trees approximately, and most of them are Neem and Frutillo. We have different kinds of species of animals as well. At the bottom, near the river, you can see most of the abundant trees, where you have the biggest number of species of trees, and it's the area that is flooded the most in the city. But it isn't affected too much by the risk of flooding. And then you have an area that isn't flooded. This is a process that we have been elaborating alongside other actors. It's quite a long process, and we are elaborating a participatory process. We are creating a committee in the neighborhood that will accompany us from the beginning to the end of the process, so that we can really, do something that fulfills their needs. So it's definitely a process of citizen empowerment. They're highly committed to the sector and the application of MBS and the marvelous diversity of this area. So as the municipality of Portoviejo, it's important to us that to make sure that this park, as a historical memory park, to be rescued and restored so we can improve safety and so that it can be open to people coming from abroad or from other places. So we hope to be able to finish this process in May. I think it'll be ready by May, and we'll be working with the community throughout. So that's what we've been doing so far in the El Mamey Park. Thank you.
Okay, I'm really sorry I missed the last part because we had internet problems here. So, but you can hear me now, right? Okay, then I again ask, are there any questions from the audience? Okay, I see one question in the chat. When you talk about safety, do you mean from natural hazards like flooding or from crime?
En este caso hablamos de inseguridad social, que es un poco la delincuencia.
In this case, social safety, so crime.
Okay, thank you for answering this. Are there more questions? Yeah, there is one question in Spanish in the chat. I can't read this, so maybe you see it or anyone else could quickly raise it.
Okay, so which group has been the most actively implied or involved in the process? Okay, well, I guess mainly older people, as we had identified before. Those who have attended are over the age of 45, and they have this cultural and historical memory with their past experiences and their current experiences. So they have these memories that they pass on to their children like a kind of tradition. but it's something that stopped happening recently. So that's the objective, to bring the park back to what it was in the past.
Thank you very much. Are there any further questions? Please feel free to also open your mic and directly ask a question. Okay, then if there's no more questions, thank you very much also to you for your presentation. And then we move on to our fourth and last speaker of today. I'm happy to welcome Nicholas from Yes Innovation. Yes Innovation is an architecture and urban planning studio aiming to implement, for example, nature-based solutions. It is based in Quito, and Yes Innovation is also part of the Interlace project. And besides Interlace, they are involved in many more and other projects, as we have seen in the last presentation. For example, in the Unlimited Cities DIY application, which Nicholas will present now. Thank you very much, and the floor is yours.
Okay, thanks for the introduction, Felix, and sorry for the dysphonia. No, I will speak in Spanish. It's a bit easier.
I hope you can understand me. I've lost my voice a little bit. I gave this title to the presentation, "We are all urban planners," because this is a slogan of the association that developed the Unlimited Cities tool that I'll be presenting. It's an association of 7 billion urban planners, and it seeks to hear from people who live in urban areas where a project is being implemented, because oftentimes these people understand the area from a perspective that the urban planner or the technicians in the municipality might not understand. So thank you for the presentation, for the introduction, Felix. You've mentioned who we are, and we are making efforts to implement green infrastructure and to look for the different roles of this infrastructure in our cities, particularly to face the challenges of climate change that we experience. Within the framework and context of Interlace, we have specific work that tries to reach urban designers, so people who plan, and especially those who design urban spaces on a daily basis. So that could be a big project or even just a street corner. And we try to find modalities to make sure that these designers have easy access to NBS and knowledge, so scientific support for decision making, and also allowing them to contrast the use of cement, for example, compared to an area with vegetation or with channels for irrigation. And within this process, within this task, we have a number of objectives. One of those is to work with Unlimited Cities, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about what this is. So this is a picture of the first version that we got to know about 12 years ago in France. It was developed by 7 billion urban planners, and I want to thank our colleague for sharing all of those elements. And this version it had a participatory process that allowed us to develop a new aim for this city, and we basically interviewed people in the streets to understand what they might want in this area, how we could do land restoration, or how you could have movements for the neighborhood. So there were these fabricated images, and you could move your cursor to change images and load them. So you basically start to create a kind of response with multiple actors. And so let's say you might have an idea of expectations in the program for this area, sorry, coming from the streets, which can be done through a workshop, through work with municipalities and work with associations as well. So this tool has a new version. This is an image of Envigado or Medellin, I believe. And this is the do-it-yourself version. It's a little bit more open. You don't need to prepare the images initially, but the system basically works as a kind of simplified Photoshop, where in 5 minutes you can design certain elements and integrate furniture, vegetation, elements of mobility, neighborhood, or cultural elements, and the project can basically add these elements that it wants, elements from its city as well, and then based on that you start to create a design on a tablet. You can create this space and leave comments, so you can see the transformation there, and it takes a couple of minutes. So you can do this in a workshop or on the streets, and this is a technique that's used habitually, and with the open organization that performs these designs. For example, a week ago, they interviewed people in open spaces, and so people who are in the area on a daily basis see that something's going on in the area and decide to participate. So there are different modalities for its application. It's not there to replace professional decisions, but it does contrast them. So we've got the theory here behind the principles of collaborative organizations defended by the Association of 7 Billion Urbanists. So it's collective intelligence, and we, as professionals, we will have a very qualified opinion about the needs of a place. But it's important to contrast that with the vision of daily users that we don't have. And if a certain place is exposed at 11 a.m., we won't know, but they will. And it's open source because they will all be free. Everything will be open for better participation, and so that the association can develop, but it's all open source. The public is very diverse because you have professionals from the municipality, you have professionals from the private sector, you have associations that are quasi-professional, but sometimes there are people who it's hard to listen to or to hear from, like children, the way we saw with Joanna and Paul, who used Minecraft to include them. So inclusion can be easily implemented with this tool because it can be used in the streets, and it's an immediate collaboration, and the practical aspect of the tool makes it very easy. This tool allows them to provide bottom-up contributions, but it can also be top-down, and you can contrast them, which helps us receive this kind of co-construction. And the community feels like they're being listened to, like they have an opinion, and their images are saved and they can see their own proposals on a big screen at the workshop, and they understand that it's their project. So it's a project for them and their voice has been included. And this secures continuity in the processes. When there are changes in administration, challenges also tend to change, and in the end, the only constant is the community. And when the community is empowered, it gives certain stability to projects. And the trend, it tends to be one of increased participation. These are multiple versions that were used. And there were multiple processes. So we have one in the streets, which is the favorite one because it's the most uncomfortable one to do. It's difficult to work in the streets using different things like post-its, but with this tool, because it's quite logical, it works. And so now there's a community around the world in Unlimited Cities that shares its experiences. This was the first one in 2018. It was a contest in Quito for the application of a public policy at the time in the city of Quito called Vision 2040 for certain neighborhoods. So we worked with San Enrique del Velasco, which is a neighborhood in the mountains in the north, which has issues of segregation, lack of green spaces, lack of environmental integration. It's a very traditional, typical neighborhood like the ones you see in the Andean region. And we started working in a traditional process with workshops, with meetings, organized civil society, neighborhood organizations. But it was very interesting. We quickly realized that we kept seeing the same people, the same volunteers, and they were all very motivated. And they're really interesting people who really boost projects, but we were yet to hear the voice of other neighbors. So we decided to work with Unlimited Cities, and we started going around the neighborhood, surveying neighbors. We did that in 1 week with a number of teams, so we could ask them questions about how they live in their neighborhoods at the moment and what they believe is a potential for the future. And we invited them to really use their imagination and have a vision for the neighborhood. So this led to a number of imaginaries that were basically defined. The interest isn't the proposal as such, but rather the construction of the proposal and dialogue and the comments that they make that speak of certain needs or opinions more than the image itself, which becomes a kind of excuse that you can use to establish that relationship and to hear them express their willingness to participate in processes. So by the end of it, that led to a holistic proposal. So going from this to this is clearly a lot of work by a team of professionals that were in touch with the municipality. And through this construction, the idea is to turn those imaginaries into something that can be built and structured. This doesn't give them an absolute voice, but obviously they have a role, and decision makers have an important role that is essential, as do the social groups that boost these elements. So we're working more with the tool. It's quite a generic tool for urban planning with all its different elements and aspects. We try to make sure that this boost can bring in more participation around NBS and transmit scientific information. So we have more and more information over time on the capacity of NBS for the provision of services to citizens and to the city with regards to resilience, biodiversity, quality of life and health. So we want to transmit that information so that when you use the tool, you can have more backed up decision making. And there are certain objects, so I'll tell you about this too. We still haven't launched it officially. That will be done in the next few days, but at Interlace, we've created a library of 3D objects or MBSs for the Sketcher library called the 3D Warehouse, which is free, and designers who are working with MBS can find examples here that they can use in their work and in their own designs. So it's kind of like a basis for their work. And then we also have our own work where we are developing, or we have new developments in unlimited cities. This is currently underway. We've got the IT team who's integrating these different aspects, and we're currently in the process of defining adjustments so that the quality of use can be as high as possible. And I hope that I'll soon be able to show you the definitive version, which we also want to test in interlaced cities and in many other cities, we hope, so that it can be, so that the MBSs can be implemented more easily in our cities. Thank you very much. And that is the end.
Thank you very much, Nicholas, for your interesting overview. Now again, the possibility for everyone to raise questions or to add comments. Maybe I go first again. I think you had it on one slide, but I was not 100% sure. Are there already cities that work with the app on a continuous basis and use it for the daily work?
No, I don't think for the daily work, no. Actually, now the Open Urbanism Foundation is based in Geneva, is working especially with a group of cities around the lake, the Leman Lake. And there is a kind of continuity there because they did several projects, no? So from one project to the other and so on and so on. But still, it's used on a project basis. But it's a good idea. Why not working it on a daily basis? Why not? Yeah.
Thank you. Are there more questions to Nicholas? If not, we also maybe can slide into the general discussion. So we still have 5 to 10 minutes to have a joint discussion, taking into concern all presentations. And I would like to ask all speakers, all the speakers who want to answer, a more general question. I think you all touched a little bit on this topic, but maybe you can deepen it a bit now, a bit more now. We heard from you about tools for to integrate citizens in urban planning processes. Could you maybe share a bit more your experiences in how often and on what level it actually leads to real implementation? So do you have any experiences on this? And again, I think I asked this a bit earlier on, do you also have experiences on frustration if good ideas are not kind of translating into actually interventions? So if one of you would go into a bit more detail on this would be great.
¿Y puedo iniciar yo tal vez? So yeah, I mean, we have to care really about expectations, no? We have to kind of try to manage the expectation process. I mean, I think expectations are interesting for the process because it impulses the participation and it's kind of push forward the ideas. But then, yeah, we have to take care of not from promising too much. When we use the Unlimited Cities tool, I mean, the design are quite rough, no? So it's not precise. It's a quick and dirty design, and dirty enough so that the expectations are not too high. No, we are clear that it's not the real design that will be then transformed in the final plan for the works to start. And even in the discourse, I mean, it's the same thing, and we try to mention that the process involves always several parties. Each one has its own role. No, so the usually the decision-taking process is led by the authority. At least in Latin America, most of the time it's like this. But then there are other sources of information that they have to consider. And what we explain is that the process of having this participation is giving information for the decision-taking process. Does not mean that it will be applied strictly, you know. So yeah, we have to take care about that, and when we do workshops, we try to be careful with this kind of possibility and this kind of risk.
Thank you very much for sharing this. Is there, from the other speakers, anything to add in regards of expectation management, for example?
Yes, I want to talk about citizen participation. Would you like to talk about that first? Maybe someone else can address that first. Because I was going to talk about citizen, yeah, so you're talking about expectations. Yeah.
No, I think it's fine. You can go on with your point.
Okay, 1 second. I'd like to talk about this slide here. I think you can see it now. So with regards to Envigado, citizen participation is fundamental. As I said in the beginning, there are 4 solutions that we proposed for the Interlace project. And on the first image, you can see the water corridor of Ayura. This contains ownership processes. So we have the rangers of the Ayura, who are the 5th grade students who go to workshops all year, and they go out and they go into the river, but that's for a different presentation. We have other events that are framed within the context of the Ayura. We have a drawing contest for all children, and they talk about the importance of the Ayura in their lives, and they draw themselves at the river with their family, with their mother, and everything that the river gives them, apart from the natural aspect. We also have a protected areas process, which can be seen in the middle picture. This is a special image, and those of you who were in Colombia in November went to this place. This is the Trianon marsh, or wetland, which is led by people who started working there in the 90s to protect the area over time. They're called eco-humedales. They're very active, environmentally speaking, and they definitely set the kind of standard for citizen participation in Envigado, and you can really see that reflected in the area. Because of their tireless efforts, they managed to fill these 2 acres of wetlands in Envigado, and thanks to them it's still there. And then the third image to me is a very Colombian image, because people in that picture are from the land restoration process called Envigado Florece, or Envigado Flourishes. It's been around for 20 years, and they're basically neighbors, from the corner of the street, families who create functional gardens in Envigado. There's something here called sancocho, which is kind of like a soup, and it's done in a big pot, and it's filled with meat and potatoes and all sorts of things, and it's almost like all different ingredients coming together. And so people come together to share the sancocho, and a lot of the projects in Envigado come around and happen around the sancocho soup. So it's been a really nice process, and you can see all the neighbors who came together to create this garden, and then they cook a nice sancocho at the end of it and invite all the different citizens to come in and have some. And obviously there's been a process of a drought, but gardens tend to be at the moment they're not doing too well because there's no water. So basically neighbors take ownership of this garden, which belongs to everyone. It's not the community garden, it's their own. And so there are people who care about it and who participate either through sancocho or because they go out and plant plants, or children say, you know, let's go out and preserve and conserve this wetland, and they're all participatory processes for MBS.
Thank you very much for your insights. Before coming to the next more general questions, I wanted to, there are two direct questions to Nicholas I quickly want to let you answer. The first one is of what happens with the ideas after the workshops, if they are published on the web. And the second one is if the app can be used from anyone, for example, in a Mexican city, or is it limited to its use in specific cities? Maybe a quick answer, and then we will continue with Jason's question.
Yeah, so the what's the use of the images? I mean, the images are conserved on the map, and then the map can be used in different ways. Now it depends of the process and depends of the who is contracting the process as well. So, but they remain on the map. I showed you the map, and then it can be used for other workshops and so on. No, and the people can even work on the same. Take an image that they saw from someone else, and kind of copy it and make an improvement or a modification and build on it. No, so the idea is to use them as much as possible. And then, yeah, any city can use the app. The app is open source, and I invite you to contact the Open Urbanism Foundation so that they can support you and introducing, especially the work they do is supporting the process and explaining how to supporting how to integrate, you know, the local furniture, the local plants, and the local things that help the people to identify that they are really working for their city. No, so it's with the things that they know. So they do that, and they ask for a small fee for that. But yeah, it's quite a small thing. But yeah, I welcome you to contact them, or it can be through us to ease the process.
Okay, thank you very much for clarifying this. We have a few more minutes. I think we can take one more question. We have one from Jason. It is a bit more general. I think it's directed to all speakers, and maybe all of you who want can answer this. It goes like this: having in mind that there's also resistance from neighborhoods relating to change. What actions can be taken to ensure that all actors are heard and that each one understands the vision of your particular project so that it's successfully implemented? Do you have any ideas how to cope with this, or any experiences from your project, how to take on board everyone and how to deal with critical voices?
If I can, on my side.
Can start, yeah.
Yeah, Unlimited Cities was done for that, no? To try to talk with other people, no? The one, especially the one who don't come to the meetings and to the workshops. But then, as I said, we don't ensure that what they propose will be considered. But what we say is that among all the visions of what could become the neighborhood, the vision of this person will be considered the same way as the others, no? The same way as the others participating to the workshop as well. So yeah, we try to do that. Then it does not ensure that in the decision-taking process, the mayor won't come and say, okay, I want this, and this will be this. I mean, this happens also, no? But yeah, yeah, and we always try to explain what can be the project, but we also let it quite open. And we saw we had some experiences with projects changing at some point. I mean, there was a kind of a priori for one project to modify a place, and actually the exchange with the people modified in a strong way the program, no, for this place, and actually the project became another project, and that was because of this process. And for us, we considered it as a success, no, for that, because maybe the first project or the first project idea was not the good one. It became something new. That's why we try to talk about the place and not that much about the project, so that we can hear the people about the place.
Thank you very much. Is there anything you would like to add from Envigado or from Portoviejo?
Okay, well, the participation process for us has been very fruitful. And one of the ways of involving everyone has also been getting them involved in the beginning from the first moment. And this leads to empowerment. And over time, it helps us reach agreements. So it's important to involve everyone from the start. Exactly. I feel like there's a group, and I'll always defend them, which is children. Children will always want to learn, and I feel like nature-based solutions are perhaps even closer to their hearts than ours. And so whenever you want to, because this happens to me as a technician, when you want to leave that bubble that sometimes we're in as technicians, and you want to hear another way or another perspective of the city where you go to a school and speak to the children, because there'll always be a sponge that wants to absorb things. So if you want to implement something and you want to be successful, go to the children. They are willing to do that. On the other hand, in Envigado, when we talk about adults, I feel like sometimes in cities, we don't address the real needs that they have. So we need to listen, as in any relationship, with our children, with our partners, or with a friend. It's always important to listen. So sometimes we get there and we're ready to do things with the social actors, and we say, this is step 1, step 2, step 3, step 10. And then after step 10, you leave. But I feel that before that, we need to listen. And when we see a need or when we identify a problem, then we can create solutions. I think we should be experts at giving solutions, but to do that, we need to listen first to then resolve. So nature-based solutions, the first step is always listen. And that's something we all need to know as technicians, start by listening. And when you do listen, you'll hear new ideas.
Thank you very much. These were, I think, very nice words for closing with the session that we have to do. Unfortunately, I know there's one more question, but we are running out of time. So I would like to thank all of you again very much and share with you a few more information. First of all, we would like to ask you to give us feedback. So if you have 2 minutes time, please use the link in the chat to give us feedback on the session. And then we would like to announce 2 more events of the Interlace project. We will have our next in-person event in Portoviejo in June, 21st of June 2024. Please find more information soon on our Interlace website. And then we have our conference in Granollers in Spain. It's on reimagining urban spaces. It will take place in October this year. There's already a save the date on our website, and I think also a form where you can register. And we will also have another webinar. The time and date has not been confirmed yet, but you will also find more information on our Interlace Hub. So having that said, thank you very much to all participants, to all speakers, for this very interesting session. And we wish you a good day, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. All the best.